Hello, Bravo bosses. This is the Bravo Investigator Podcast. I'm your host, Dana, and today we are talking about Married at First Sight, Season 20, Episodes 1 to 3. Let's get into it. Happy Saturday, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great weekend so far. The weather here in Toronto is still lapoo. We had that forest fire earlier in the week that America is blaming us for. My personal apologies for the forest fire infiltrating New York, Connecticut, other places like that. My personal apologies. It's been smoky out over here. It sucks because I can't really explain it to my dog. You know, she doesn't understand. She's just like, why aren't you taking me for constant walks? I'm like, babe, but because you can't breathe in this smoky air, it's so bad for you. And they're rating it at like an 8 on like the I don't know, an 8 out of 10 on like the scale of how dangerous the air is. I was supposed to take out my dog for her birthday tomorrow with my dad and my sister. We were supposed to go to a fenced in dog park and then to an outdoor restaurant that allows animals. It was going to be like a whole day, right? Now I'm not sure if we can do it. And she'll never understand. She'll never forgive me. So it's been a tough weekend, as I'm sure you can imagine. But it has started to rain here, so that's good. I'm hoping that is starting to help the smoky air get better. But even though it smells better around here and it doesn't smell as smoky, the like the toxic index or whatever they're saying is in the air is still real bad. So hanging out inside today, but that's okay because there is lots of fun TV to watch. I cannot believe we had two dating shows come out in 1 week. How lucky are we? We have Married at First Sight, season 20, which is a Seattle season. We had episodes 1 to 3 come out this week, which we're talking about today. And then The Ultimatum came out on Netflix, episodes 1 to 8. And then they're going to air 2 more episodes next week. I watched that today as well, and it was okay today and yesterday. Honestly, there's a lot of white blonde people, boys and girls, and I had a lot of trouble telling them apart to the point of like, wait, who's in the original couple and who's with who now? So it honestly affected the experience. I like, because I couldn't remember who was with who, but it wasn't as good as normal. I really do love those brand of shows. I love Love is Blind, Ultimatum, Queer Ultimatum, even though they canceled Queer Ultimatum. So I was excited about this. Married at First Sight, I've been a long time love. So I am so glad that you guys are joining me here today for this. I wasn't sure if I was going to even be covering it, but consider me set for season 20. This is already so good so far. And just letting you guys know that today is an audio only episode. My skin is a bit better, but I also just kind of want to give it a day, give it a rest, give it a break. I don't really want to put on makeup today. I'm not wearing a bra right now. I haven't washed my hair since Tuesday. So, things are things are happening over here that not everybody needs to see. So today is an audio only episode, but I will also be uploading the audio version to YouTube in case you guys just want to watch the screen, which is totally cool and fine. But yeah, I have been a longtime watcher of Married at First Sight, and I'm excited for you guys to join me on this journey. I have been watching this since the jump, since the Jamie and Doug season, which is season 1. And what was so funny about that season is Jamie and Doug, who are sort of our A1 day one couple when it comes to Married at First Sight, sort of like a Trista and Ryan when it comes to the Bachelor world. Jamie Otis, she was actually from The Bachelor. Now, this is like a decade ago or more, okay? They've been married, at least a decade. They have like 4 kids. But I remember watching Jamie on Married at First Sight and thinking, this girl looks so familiar. And now I can't remember off the top I think it was Ben Higgins' season, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken. I can't remember which season she was on, but her shtick was basically like telling the guy, I think it was Ben, that she wasn't ready to kiss him, but then continuing to say she wanted to kiss him and trying to like get him to kiss her, but then saying like, no, not yet. I don't know. That was her deal. But I remember recognizing her. And this is way back in the day where there was like no reality TV crossover. No one had heard of such a thing. And this is also back in the time of like 10 years ago, like internet research was not as advanced as it is today. So it took me quite some time to try to figure out how I knew this girl and where I knew her from. But I remember finding an article being like, you may recognize Jamie Otis from The Bachelor. I'm like, yes, yes, this is her. This is this girl. So she ends up walking down the aisle to Doug, and she is horrified seeing him at first sight because he has moles all over his face and she is not attracted to him. But again, here we are like 10 years later, and they're still married and they have their struggles, which they talk a lot about online, but they're still together, have four beautiful kids, and are thriving. So, it shows that this show does have success stories. And for those of you who are new to Married at First Sight, I'll just give you a little bit of a rundown of what you can expect from the show. Now, it has changed over the past 2 years because they've gone from where were we before? Like on Slice, or what was Married at First Sight on before? Like in Canada, it was on Slice. I don't Lifetime. It was on Lifetime. Now it's on Peacock, and it has been for the past two seasons. But historically, Married at First Sight is a very, very, very long reality show, usually consisting of like, oh God, I don't know, 30 something episodes. And it basically has three experts, and those are different experts that were on the show now. So back then, it was Pastor Cal, Dr. Pepper, and Dr. Viviana. But that person has kind of changed over the years. There used to be a Dr. Jessica. We'll talk about her in a second. But you have these experts who are experts in different things, whether it be sex, relationships, marriage, and they gather these people who have applied to be on the show and match them. And they have this matchmaking process. And typically on the show, you see many more episodes of the matchmaking process, what that entails, what these people truly have in common, how they decide to do this matchmaking. They even have like usually like a matchmaking special episode as well to kind of really go into the nitty gritty details of how they do it. Then they match a certain number of couples. Then they have them meet at first sight. But before that, we get like a series of episodes of where the people are being told that they've been matched, where they're telling their family members and their friends and stuff. And so there's usually like, oh God, maybe 5 episodes, it feels like, before you actually see these people walk down the aisle. And that is something that they've definitely taken out of the show in its revamp. But basically, we end up watching these people get married literally at first sight. So that's how it's different than these other shows like Love is Blind. These people are getting married at the jump. And the whole concept of that is what truly, in my opinion, makes this show more successful in theory. Because if you walked into a bar and you see a guy and you're not attracted to him, you're not going to give him a second look, right? You're not going to be interested in him. Or if you're set up on a date or this and that, it's so easy to just run away from a situation if you're not attracted to someone. Or even Love is Blind, right? Like you can give it that 30 days of where you go on the vacation together and you live together and all of that. But at the end of the day, you can walk away. With marriage, it is much harder to walk away. This show does a real marriage, like it is a real life marriage. Okay. So they'd have to go through the divorce process to end it. And that's what makes these people, in my opinion, try that much harder to make it work, even if they're not attracted to the person, even if there's factors that they hadn't considered, even if there's something about them that isn't specifically what they asked for and it's kind of a big deal. They're going to try that much harder because they don't want a divorce on their record. You know what I mean? So that's what I've always been really interested in about the show. And like I said, there's been many success stories. I can't remember how many offhand, but last season they definitely talked about it. I don't remember the number. I feel like they said that there's been like 11 success stories, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe like a few babies. Listen, I'm just saying numbers right now. I'm not really sure, but it's been a decent number. It's definitely been at least 10. Now, the problem with the show, definitely the flaws, were how long it was, how many episodes we spend getting to know family members, how many episodes we spend on just like nothing, really, just like walking down the aisle, pauses, things like that. And the show did end up getting kind of stale, I want to say around like season 17. I think that was the season I didn't even watch because I think it got real bad. Then season 18 really picked up again and it was really good. It was still with its normal format. But what was different about this season was like there was basically like a couple swap, which is like drama. So basically, there was this guy Mike, was his name Mike? And he was married to this girl, Michelle. She was not interested in him from the jump. She was totally not attracted to him. She wasn't into the fact that he lived in his parents' basement, all that stuff. And he ended up like sparking a spark with like one of the girls in the other couples. They would go to the gym together in the morning and stuff. And by the end of the season, they were like into each other. And now they're engaged, which is just wild. So, you know, you never know when the experts sort of get it a bit wrong, right? I mean, when we've seen this happen on Love is Blind, like it's always shocking and it's always fun. So they definitely tried to drag out that season. And then in season 19, which was last season, which is when they moved it to Peacock, they did it in more of like a Netflix style where they released 6 episodes at a time, or like the first drop was 6 episodes, and then it was 12 episodes in total. And it just didn't work. We still had our main experts, but we didn't get any backstory as to why these people were matched. We got almost nothing about these people as people either. So it was hard to feel invested in the couples because I just don't know you. I don't care about what happens to you if I haven't been given like a ton of detail on your background. And then it just felt sort of rushed. And it was the first season where they had incorporated older couples. Like they had a couple in like their 50s or 60s, I think, who had been divorced before and who had older kids and stuff. And so that aspect was cool. It was interesting to see them intermingle with the younger couples and stuff like that. There's usually like a cast trip together and everything. But it just didn't work, and none of the couples ended up working out, and it was pretty much a dumpster fire. But Peacock has decided to continue on with the show, and I'm glad that they have. But another major difference that they took this season is getting rid of all of the experts that we've known and loved for years. So we have no more Pastor Cal, no more Dr. Pepper, no more Dr. Viviana. And now we have Dr. Lisa Paz, who is a marriage and sex therapist. And we have Paul Brunson, who's from Married at First Sight UK. And I like Paul. He seems fine. Dr. Lisa, I'm still getting to know. She really reminds me of this podcaster from this new podcast I've been listening to called Showmance on like Now Defy Studios. They it's all these Bravo shows that I watch, but she looks like one of the girls from that. There was something about her saying she was a boy mom that just didn't make me like love her. But other than that, she seems okay. We didn't really get a lot of background on their backgrounds, right? Just sort of their titles. Now, a little bit of tea when it comes to the Married at First Sight, backstory is there was back in the day a Dr. Jessica Griffin, and Dr. Jessica ended up getting together with one of the contestants from one of the seasons. His name was John. He ended up quitting his job to go on the show. The girl that he ends up being matched with doesn't end up being attracted to him, which sucks because he was actually really, really attractive. And then after the fact, so it wasn't like on the show or anything, it was like after the fact, he and Dr. Jessica end up like getting together, and she was divorced and had 2 kids, and he was like 10 years younger and everything, but I think they're married now, which is kind of crazy. So Dr. Jessica is no longer on the show because I guess it was sort of like a conflict of interest, right? So the show has definitely had its own drama and its own like ups and downs, but I wasn't too excited about this season coming up just because season 19 kind of sucked. I did like 18, but 17 sucked. I can all as and well appreciate when like a new network takes over and there being changes and stuff, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to like it. So I wasn't like banking on liking this season, but color me wrong. Okay. This season is so good so far. And here's what I noticed that they did differently. They gave us a little bit more about the characters or like the people, I guess. And I have to be honest, I truly do not believe that they cast this season based on true matches. I think that they casted the most ridiculous people that they could find. I honestly do. And I feel bad for anyone who actually signed up for this show this season looking for love and looking for marriage because I don't think any of the experts had anyone's best interest at heart here. It really feels like just a dumpster fire of red flags and problem men. And I am so entertained, which is great for me and great for us as viewers, right? Like, we want to be entertained. Again, I feel bad for anyone on the show who is doing this in a true attempt to find love, because that's not what's happening here. This is purely for our entertainment, and consider me entertained. All right. So let's go into couple by couple. That's basically how we're going to do it now that I've given you a sufficient background on all things Married at First Sight. We'll just sort of talk couple by couple and talk all of my thoughts and feels. So we'll start with Adam and Marissa. So Marissa is 30 and she's a project manager. And I do have to say, every woman this season is a something manager, is either a product manager, a program manager, or a project manager. I don't know what any of those things are. Sounds great, but I just think it's interesting that everybody has this job title now. I like having manager in the title. I'd like to know more about what these jobs are. Adam, well, you know what? It's not going to matter that long because they're going to end up becoming influencers after this anyways. Okay. Adam is 31 years old. He's a data analyst. He's 6'5". He's got like blonde curly hair, which is rare. You don't see a lot of blonde men anymore. You don't. And Marissa has like a really nice body, cute face. She's got kind of like this ombre hair. Now, Adam, he is living his best life. He has a cabin on the water. He has a jet ski. He's an adrenaline junkie. He's set financially, but he's also very, very controlled. He's in his not drinking era. He really believes that it's like toxic to the body, and everything is about what you put in your body and health and all of that stuff. He plays the piano. And he ends up letting us know this twice in the span of 3 episodes, okay? Because when we get to the bachelor party part, he plays the piano for the other men, and he's playing like classical music, right? And then when we get to the wedding, sorry, we'll get to that in a minute because it absolutely had me cackling. So I guess part of the matchmaking process this season is having Paul go out and like hang out with these people in their day to day to see what their life is like. So Paul goes up to Adam's lake house with him and his friends just to kind of see what his life is like up there. And Adam starts talking about this girl that he's gone on like 5 dates with. And Paul says, well, like, how recently have you had a girl here? And he's like, well, like a week ago. This girl was here like a week ago. And like, there's been lots of conversations about this kind of thing across these dating shows, right? It's like, were you really ready for this if you were going on dates with someone this recently? And it can be, it can be a double standard when we talk about men versus women. We've had this conversation on Love is Blind. And it's like, here's the thing about these shows, from my understanding. Like from an outsider's perspective, it looks like, okay, how could you possibly be ready to get married if you've been dating recently, right? I understand that concept. But it's my understanding about these shows that you could apply like months and months in advance, not hear anything, then hear something, then hear nothing. And then all of a sudden, like 3 days before, you're asked to get on a plane, right? So the odds that you're actually going to be cast are so slim. And I know some people say like, from the minute you fill out that application, you shouldn't be going on any dates. But again, the odds that you're actually going to be cast they're so slim. So I feel like go on, continue living your life until you're told differently. Because even for this, right? Like, yeah, maybe they're filming him and maybe they're meeting with him at his lake house and stuff, but it doesn't mean that they necessarily found him a match. They did, spoiler alert, but we'll get to that in a second. So this scene is so interesting to me. Paul actually makes Adam call up this girl that he's gone on like 5 dates with to let her know he's been matched with someone on Married at First Sight. And Adam is of the opinion, like, I haven't been on enough dates with her to call her. Like, this is totally the type of person I could maybe send a text to or even ghost. And Paul's like, no, you're going to call her. And this is so interesting. I've had this exact conversation with friends before. Years and years and years ago, I had gone on like 6 dates with someone. I was not into him. I was not attracted to him. I was really trying to be. I just wasn't. And my friends were like, you have to call him and break up with him. And I'm like, we've never talked on the phone. Like, if we've never talked on the phone, do I owe him a phone call? You know what I mean? If we've only ever texted, it just felt really weird. When I did end it with him via text, he tried calling me. Then I didn't answer because I didn't want to have the conversation. Ugh, I know, I'm the worst. I was a coward. Okay, I was a coward. So then I end up texting him like, "Hey, I'm at my parents' house. I can't talk right now." And he's like, "Oh, I just wanted to say like I hope we can be friends or whatever." Right? I don't know. It's awkward. But so Adam calls the girl on camera and she sounds like all happy to hear from him. And he's like, "Hey, so listen, I know I've been having a great time with you and everything. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but I've been matched with someone for the show Married at First Sight, so I can't see you anymore." And she's like, are you joking? Are you serious? And she's pissed as hell. Now, I am really curious about this phone call because you have to get consent to have her on camera, right? Even though it's just her voice over the phone, you still have to get that consent for that phone call to be recorded. So I'm curious when that happened, and I'm curious what he told her he is filming for if he had to tell her before this phone call. I don't know. It's just so crazy, but I thought that scene was absolutely hilarious to make him do that. And I think Paul was trying to show him that maybe one of the problems that you're having, because look, you're 6'5", you're handsome, you have a boat, you're set financially. Why can't you find a woman? Well, maybe you don't have a really good perception about how people feel about you. And this was a perfect example of something like that, right? I think that's why Paul was doing it. So, in terms of actual matchmaking, this is what the matchmakers saw with Adam and Marissa. They said, Adam and Marissa, they're both animal people. Now, Marissa is actually allergic to cats, and Adam has a huge cat, but she is willing to take allergy pills for the right cat. So, hopefully, this is the right cat. Now, Adam wants somebody fit. Marissa works out. Marissa's dad is not really in her life, and he actually wouldn't be walking her down the aisle if she were to get married. Adam says he doesn't really care about somebody's family, like in terms of like their past, because you're going to be making your own family together. And I really liked that mentality that he said that, because sometimes you can feel embarrassed, like me specifically, um, when you tell people that you're not close with your family because they wonder like, oh, why, right? Because it makes you sound like you're a good person if you're close with your family, and it sort of makes you sound like there's something wrong with you or something bad about you if you're not close with your family, right? So there can be some shame that comes with that when you are talking to someone or meeting somebody else. So it's kind of a nice feeling when you're both sort of on the same level, where it's like, I'm not close with my family, but family is important to me and I want to make a new one, and I'll make it with you. To the point where Adam's parents are not even going to come to the wedding. They're in Iceland. His sister thinks this is absolutely crazy, won't be coming to the wedding. So he has no family there. So, in terms of the actual wedding, his friend's girlfriend ends up walking him down the aisle, which is wild that he can't get a single family member to kind of do this for him, which it doesn't make me question his seriousness when it comes to this process. But I guess it kind of does, because if you can't even convince your family that this is real to the point where not a single one of them is going to come to the wedding, I don't know, then how real is it, right? Like, if a tree falls in a forest, does it make a sound? If your wedding occurs without a single one of your family members being there, did it really happen? I mean, I did, because it's on TV. So we're at the wedding, and they started doing this new thing at the altar where in previous years, they would typically have, the bride walk down the aisle to the groom, and then the officiant would read something that each person's friends and family would say about them so that they could get to know each other better. This year, they're doing something where they have the groom turn around so that he can't see the bride walking down the aisle and doesn't get to see her till she's right at the end of the altar. I don't really know what the purpose of that is, because he's missing out on some of the wedding. You know what I mean? Some of the wedding is the walking down the aisle part. Like, I mean, we'll get to it a little bit later, but Michelle and Cameron, like Michelle comes in a horse-drawn carriage. So the groom misses that entire thing. So I just thought it was interesting to have them turn around like that. But when he turns around to look at her, they realize that they have actually met before. Now, this has happened only, I believe, once before on this show. It happened so many seasons ago. I don't remember the names of either. The girl's name was Kate. I can tell you that. I don't remember the name of the guy. And they had met at like a dating event. He ran like dating events in whatever city this was, and she like went with a friend to like one of these dating events. So that's how they met, and he was not attracted to her at all, even though she was so beautiful and gorgeous. And he spent the entire marriage trying to gaslight her into thinking, or gaslight people into thinking, that she was an alcoholic and all of these things, because he was not willing to admit that he just wasn't attracted to her. But anyways, not the issue here today. The issue here today is these people met like 2 years ago at a bar. They exchanged numbers, but they never went on a date. So I feel like they have the benefit of already being attracted to each other. And Adam even says something like he doesn't approach a lot of people and that he's not attracted to a lot of people. So he's pleased. They kiss at the altar and they're both happy. And like, as much as attraction can grow, I think it really is ideal for this show if you just are attracted to each other off of the bat, because it really, there's so much less time wasted in a sense of the time you waste when you're trying to grow in attraction to someone in this very condensed process where there isn't like a lot of time before you have to. Oh, sorry, you guys. How the show works at the end is that so you're married at first sight, but then the show goes on for a number of weeks. It either goes on like 10 weeks, something like that. And at the end, you have to tell the experts as a couple whether you want to stay married or want to get divorced. And some people in the couple might feel differently than the other person in the couple. But at the end of the day, that's what ends up happening. So some people at the end of the 10, 12 weeks, at the end of the experiment, because that's what this is, you decide if you want to stay married or you want to get a divorce. So just wanted to mention that in terms of part of the premise of the show. So at the actual wedding, one of Marissa's bridesmaids makes a speech and tells Adam that Marissa is really into napping, mac and cheese, and tequila sodas. And you can tell that that's the moment that he about taps out, because this guy is so like disciplined and controlled. And like, I think the idea of this woman who's like a partier slash napper slash lazy, like, I don't think he likes it. Now, what does he take this opportunity to do at his own wedding? Oh, he starts playing the piano again. So again, he is now playing a classical song that really, to me, signifies that he only knows the music that he was taught like in piano class, because these are the songs that they teach you when you start learning piano. You know what I mean? Like, he's not playing a bop. He's not playing something that would get people like up and dancing. He's literally playing classical music that he learned in Piano 101. But he ends up going on for so long that some of the bridesmaids just start laughing and other people start yawning. And I was just cackling because who plays the piano at their own wedding and for this long? It was so much fun. Had a blast at this wedding. So at night, they go back to this room together. You can tell something's about to go down. Now, Adam tells the camera that he's not worried about being naked with his wife because he works out and he thinks he looks good without clothes on. So he's trained his whole life for this. And this was the moment that I knew I was sat for this season, because that is hysterical. This character is a character, right? We talk about these people as like reality TV characters. They're real people in real life, yada, yada, yada. But this guy is a character. This is an actual character. I can't even believe he's real. And I am so excited to watch this dumpster fire of a journey. Now, if I had to guess as to where this is going to go, I think he's going to end up getting angry with her about the way that she lives. Like, I have a feeling she's messy. I don't know. I have a feeling she's messy, and then he's going to get upset about that. Or he's going to want to do his life in a very regimented way. And he's always been single and always wanted to do things a certain way. And I think he's not going to like that she doesn't necessarily fit into his mold. And then I also wonder about this lake house, because it's beautiful and amazing and all these things. And he spends all this time there. But is she going to want to spend all of her time there, right? Maybe they're going to get in spats about that too. So that's what I see possibly happening. But in terms of attraction, these two are down. Okay, let's move on to our next couple, Nick and Courtney. Nick is a 31-year-old product manager, just another manager, and Courtney is a 28-year-old program manager, two managers. Now, Nick is someone you may recognize because he has been on 4 or 5 reality shows. Now, I definitely recognize him, and I did when he was cast for this show, but I could not figure out from where. I know he's been on The Circle. I know he's been on Perfect Match, but I've never seen either of those shows. I've only seen the most recent season of Perfect Match. Oh, no, I didn't even watch that one. Um, so I'm not sure where I've seen him from. Maybe it's just from like the reality TV zeitgeist. Like maybe he's just been in pictures with other reality stars or something like that. But I can tell you this, Nick is hot. Okay. And I'm not attracted to a lot of people, but I find Nick extremely good looking to the point where I'm like perma smiling when I look at him. And I am not like that. And that is the main reason I could never go on one of these shows, not Love is Blind, not Married at First Sight, none of that. Because I know about myself that it takes me a long time to become attracted to someone. I need to like grow in attraction. I'm almost attracted to no one off of the bat. So I could never even like fake it. And I can become a really cold, like cold as ice, be real stanky, be a real bitch if someone I'm not attracted to is like trying to touch me in any regard. I'm very like standoffish. Like if it was The Bachelor, for example, there's no way I could kiss like 30 men. I just couldn't do it. And I couldn't pretend that I was like into all of these people until I was. So definitely a reason I'm not into it. Now, Nick played lacrosse. He also went to MIT. So he's a little bit into the fitness life, but Courtney is a lot into the fitness life. She was actually a bodybuilder, and so were her parents. But that being said, Courtney is not really looking for someone who is fitness is everything in my life. She just wants to make sure that it's someone that they consider it something important. When it comes to matchmaking, on top of that, they are both particularly people who don't want to go to church every Sunday. So they seem to align when it comes to religion. When it comes to politics, this was really interesting. So Courtney says that she doesn't want a liberal. She kind of looked at it like it was gross. She was like, ugh, a liberal. I don't want that. Then she says she thinks women should have the right to choose, but she doesn't understand how people can't think conservatively economically. So then Paul says, okay, well, I need a little bit more here because you definitely are conservative, but being conservative is a range. So I kind of want to see how you lean. So then Courtney says, okay, well, can you give me an example of the range? And Paul says, why didn't you tell me about January 6th? And Courtney says, remind me what happened on January 6th. And Paul says, that's helpful. Now, on face value, okay, this is really interesting. On face value, it sort of seemed as maybe Courtney doesn't know what happened on January 6th, which will be really confusing given that she seems to have a lot of strong political opinions. And if so, she would know what happened on January the 6th. It's not like she's one of these people who's like, oh, I don't really follow politics. Like, I don't really know. But she does. She does really seem to follow politics, and it does seem to be important to her. So I can only assume that what she's trying to say, and when you look at her face too, she doesn't look confused. It's more so that she's trying to say, well, why don't you tell me what you believe, Paul, happened on January the 6th? Because there are some people out there who don't believe that anything wrong happened on January the 6th, which might be what she's trying to say. Well, what did January 6th mean to you? And so Paul's like, yeah, I got it. It's very interesting to get this kind of political stance on TV in terms of, I just mean them showing this part. Because remember, I know you guys don't like when we talk politics as podcasters, especially as Bravo podcasters, or sorry, reality TV podcasters, but this is the snippet they gave us, right? So like keep that in mind, right? This is what they decided to keep in the show as really important for us to have when we have so little. So this is something that they're really trying to show us. Then when they moved over to Nick, he says that he leans more conservative right now, but there are certain issues he's more liberal about. And when he's asked like what, he couldn't answer. So to me, he's giving more like, I don't really follow politics in a way where Courtney has a lot of hard and fast opinions. So we move on to their wedding, and they're both attracted to each other off the bat at the altar, which is great. And when they actually get to the like wedding part, Courtney realizes, oh, he has been on a lot of reality shows, but that is just so different from her. And I wonder how much that's going to be an issue. Because like one of his groomsmen, for example, mentioned something about RuPaul's Drag Race. And Courtney's like, oh yeah, my family is really into cars. Not even understanding that RuPaul's Drag Race is a reality show and is not about cars. Now, she does get the reassurance from his friends that he's not just trying to be on like another reality TV show. He really wants a commitment and to be married. And he does seem to come off genuine. Like, again, I haven't seen him on any of these other shows, so I really don't know how he comes off on those other shows, but he seems to come off as like a genuine guy. I do just wonder, though, given that their lives are so different in terms of I mean, he does say to Paul, I don't have an agent or a manager. I'm just here for this, meaning I'm not, after this, just going to be on another show and another show. I have a 9 to 5. I have all of these things, a regular life. Because I was going to say, it would be hard for me to date someone who doesn't know anything about reality TV because it's such a big part of my life. And now it's become such a big part of his life. And if she doesn't even know anything about reality TV at all, I wonder if they would mesh. Again, I think he's trying to say, I have a regular life now. I don't plan for reality TV to be my life. So I think I'm in a good place. I just kind of wonder when the past several years of his life, a lot of his friends are from reality TV. Just, it's such a different world. And when you know nothing about it, I wonder if it's going to affect their ability to mesh. Just kind of curious, right? All right, let's move on to Nikki and Sean. Now, this couple is diabolical in the sense of how the matchmakers did these two dirty. They really, really did these two dirty. This was the couple where I sat down and was like, oh, okay, they're just casting people to like create a stir. They're just casting people for entertainment at this point because it was very clear that these two were not going to be a good match. Because we have Nikki. She's 46. She's an HR leader. We have Sean. He's 48. He's a college VP of administration. Now, he is small, okay? He's 5'6", but he has a PhD. He's excelled at sports and academia. His dad was a pastor. He's dated beauty queens. Now, he says he didn't lose his virginity until 21 because like sex was kind of like not spoken about a lot in the household. But then he didn't really know what he liked until he was like 28 or 29. And that's when he did it again. Interesting. Nikki, she wants kids. Sean also wants kids immediately, even a honeymoon baby. And, let's not go there, okay? But when it comes to matchmaking, Nikki says, I want the stereotypical 6 feet. But she does also say that she's dated guys who weren't 6 feet and they towered in other more important ways like intelligence. Okay, fair enough. But when you say, I've also dated guys who weren't 6 feet, were they like 5'11"? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they weren't really leaning into what she was looking for here because even though she says, yeah, I'd be open to someone shorter, 5'6" is significantly shorter than 6 feet. So I feel like they should have canvassed that with her a little bit more. Also, she's very specific about why she wants somebody who's 6 feet. She wants that feeling of having someone like hold you and be manly and the feeling of being like held in a safe way. She does say that she considers herself a sapiosexual, which basically just means you fall in love with the person. But we also don't have a ton on her background. Like, I'm not sure if she's ever been married before or he has. This is like an older couple on the show. Not in a bad way. I think it's great to show people of all ranges because we're going to be having our next couple, Devin and Caitlin, who are like 20 years their junior. But if neither of these people have ever been married, I think that this is a great experiment for them because this is where, you're sort of at your last kick at the can and you want someone to try to do this for you and to try to pair you with somebody who is best suited for you. But it's difficult with Nikki because she says she makes $250,000 to $300,000 a year. Sorry, $250,000 to $350,000 a year. But she also wants a partner who makes at least $250,000 a year. Now, Paul does remind her that that is not what the majority of people in America make, right? But she does explain that her salary has made guys feel emasculated before. So she does end up taking it down to 200, but we don't end up finding out exactly how much money Sean makes, but I don't think it's a ton. He does say that he thinks he could support his partner, though, but the experts literally say when they decide to match this couple that this is either going to explode in the best way or the worst way. And you guys, That is diabolical. I'm sorry, but it is. I can't believe they went ahead and just said, like, this could be the best of times or the worst of times. And they know exactly why, right? I feel like they should have gone a little further for Nikki. And like, we'll get into it all. And I kind of want to talk about what the internet had to say about it as well. But let's move on to the wedding, which is the most hilarious part. So when Nikki gets to the altar, she cannot even fathom that Sean would be her husband, even though he is the only man up there. Okay. So he's up there. He turns around. He's looking at Nikki, and she goes, "Am I supposed to stand here and wait for my groom?" I'm not joking. So Sean literally has to be like, "Hello, hi, I am your husband." And when Nikki realizes that this small man is her husband, she puts on the stankiest of stank faces and could not hide at all that she was not attracted to this man. But I will say that, like, once they kind of gave them a moment to talk about who they are, and Sean talks about his life and his background, Nikki did seem to soften a bit, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Like, I just don't. So they find out later they both love neuroscience, they have a lot in common. But when it comes to like the actual wedding and like it's the time to take off the garter, okay, so Sean, not only, I don't know, he has like this quirky personality where he's like silly. So he like goes over to Nikki, tries to find her. He sees her with a group of people and he's like, "Excuse me, miss, can you please come with me?" And then he takes off her garter with his teeth, which I think might have been a bit forward. And he does ask to kiss her, though, which I appreciate that he asks. But I think it's pretty clear to him at this point that she's not attracted to him, because he even says something at the altar like, you know, for me, physical attraction has grown in relationships, and sometimes it takes getting to know someone. And I feel like he said that because he got that sense from her that she wasn't attracted. And so he was just trying to throw that in so that she would kind of, in a way, to remind her and himself that there's still a chance. But I feel like, you know, you have just met, just give it a minute, right? Like, she's going to take a minute with your forwardness. I feel like I like his personality. I think it's super cute. Online, people thought it was cringe, right? Like, they thought like the garter thing was cringe, and they thought that, like, I don't know, the pace that he was going was cringe, which I get. And then a lot of people online were also just like, you know, it was really unfair of the experts to give her someone so much shorter than she wanted, and she was so specific. Other people were like, she's such a bitch. It can, attraction can grow. It's so hard to say, right? Like, it really is. Like I said, at the end of the day, to have the discourse on this is ridiculous because she's just not going to become attracted to him. She's just not. Like, in the preview for the future episodes, you see her say, like, "I didn't want someone with a dad bod without being the dad." And you hear her say, like, it's her voice, but they dub it over someone else to be like, "I'm not attracted to you." But anyways, when we're back at the room, like after the actual wedding, Nikki, like, she's not even really making an effort to make him feel like they're in any kind of relationship. She's like, "You can sleep in the bed, but stay on your side, wear a t-shirt." Sean makes like a 69 joke, which makes Nikki cringe because she's not attracted to him. And then he asks to kiss her again, and she's like, "Let's hold off." And I do wish he would just let her go at her own pace because, again, it has to be very clear to him that she is not attracted to him yet. And he should just sort of back off a little. But I feel like he is getting annoyed, especially back at the room, because she is being kind of rude about it. So they definitely don't have sex. And I definitely don't see them going anywhere. I don't see this going past the honeymoon. I don't remember if we've ever had that happen on this show. We have. We've had it happen. There was this couple, I don't remember their names. I think they ended right after the honeymoon. The wife could not stand the fact that the husband was smoking on the honeymoon. And then the experts came back to her with, like, "We asked you about smoking and you said you were fine with it if it was casual." And she's like, "Well, he's doing it every day." And he's like, "I'm on vacation." They ended things right after the honeymoon. So I don't know, but I could see her not going through with this entire process because, just like me, she absolutely cannot hide her disdain for this man. And you know, if you're the type of person, though, it's sort of like we say with Love is Blind. If you're the type of person, though, who is going to be so fixated on looks, then maybe this process isn't the best for you. Because yes, it is a matchmaking process, but at the end of the day, they can't guarantee that you're going to be attracted to the person. I don't even think that if he was 6 feet, she would be attracted to him because now she's complaining about his body, right? And like, so it's, I don't know. I don't know, but it's not a good match. Okay, let's move on to Devin and Caitlin. They're our youngest couple. Devin is 27 and a professional rugby player. Caitlin is 28 years old and she works in social media marketing. Now, Devin says that most people's first impression of him is that he's a douchebag, but then they find out he's a big teddy bear. He is so young, but he talks about not wanting to be a 30-year-old bachelor. He thinks that that would be old. He has these visions of romantic movies that I feel like he's seen where he's like, I want to go on hikes with my wife and have her sit between my legs at the top of the mountain. And it's like, yeah, that's all beautiful and everything. But I feel like, again, these are things he just saw in movies. When we get to the matchmaking portion, Paul questions Devin on his ability to have a monogamous relationship when he's always on the go as an athlete. And I really appreciated Paul asking the question because it's true, right? It's sort of one of those things. It's not even about the travel. It's like professional athletes are sort of known to cheat. It's just something about them. And I appreciate him asking that question to determine whether he's actually like a good fit for this process. And Devin says that in the best case scenario, he finds someone who would want to go on the road with him. Now, Caitlin, she can work from anywhere. She makes her own hours. She's also a cycle instructor and she does makeup as a business, which has given her a lot of financial freedom. So as long as her work gets done, she can kind of come and go as she pleases, which, you know, that's a great match for Devin. Now, in terms of family, Devin does not have a relationship with his dad. His dad left when he was young. And he does want to be a dad and have his wife and kids at the end of the stadium sort of cheering him on. That's sort of like his vision because he wants to keep playing rugby, but he also wants to have the family. And again, the vision that he has of like, he's all bloody and his wife doesn't care and she's running towards him with their baby at the stadium. These all sound like movies that I've seen. And I worry that he may not actually be ready for real marriage. What he's ready for, or what he thinks he's ready for, is just this vision of marriage that he's seen in movies. Caitlin does also want kids, so that's good. And at their core, it does seem like they're a good match in terms of like the basic things that they want. When we get to the wedding, Caitlin's dad is coming to the wedding, but he doesn't want to walk her down the aisle because he isn't into this whole thing and he's really upset about it. But then we actually see the dad. And I wasn't sure if we were going to. I wasn't sure if like they were actually going to show him on camera because usually when on Love is Blind or even this show, if one of the family members doesn't want to come or doesn't want to appear on camera, they're not on camera, right? Like we have Michelle a little bit later on whose dad is camera shy. So he writes her a letter. But it was interesting because I see this guy sort of grumbling and mumbling to himself and kind of talking shit. I'm like, is that Caitlin's dad? And they're putting him on camera. So I'm getting confused. I'm like, is this her dad? And he's making all these noises like, this is dumb. This is so cringe. There's all those people over there that I don't want to talk to. And then when I think Caitlin's mom says, well, the people on the other side seem to look happy and they're smiling. Her dad says, they're probably drunk. And then he looks at one of her bridesmaids or one of the bridesmaids and says, look, red in the face. It's like, dude, I can't. So not only will this man not walk her down the aisle, but he is mic'd and he is now narrating the entire wedding talking shit. So not this man, Devin, coming down the aisle with sunglasses on top of his head and like a mullet. Like, are you kidding me? I mean, the hair is one thing, but you're going to wear sunglasses on top of your head? That makes me feel like you're not taking this seriously. Like, that's like wearing a hat to your wedding. You know what I'm saying? So she comes down the aisle. They seem attracted to each other and they haven't said a word to each other yet besides just like a basic introduction. And not Caitlin's dad standing up and deciding to make a random speech before they have even said 2 words to each other at the altar. Caitlin's dad is just like, all right, it's my turn. And he's like, this was so uncomfortable for me, but I trust Caitlin and I hope this turns into something amazing. Thanks, Dad. He sits back down. They kiss at the altar, but he does ask, which I like. I think that's kind of sweet to just lean in and quickly ask, right? Just so you don't have like that awkward moment. When we get back to the room at night, Devin tells the camera he can't wait to have sex, and if she wants to, he won't say no. So I think they're kind of cute. Um, I worry about them because they're so young. I worry about them because he has these visions of romantic fantasies that I'm not sure are realistic. I worry about them as well because it seems like he has a very set life that she would really need to fit into, which some people are fine to do. I just want to make sure that they found someone willing to do that because he's basically looking for a trophy wife in a sense, right? He's looking for someone who can come on the road with him, come to all of his games, and live his life and his schedule for him. Think of the way that Khloe Kardashian sort of did that for Lamar Odom, right? They had to move. Didn't they move to Texas for a while? Everything was based around his schedule. She had to spend like some holidays alone because of his schedule. So, it's a huge commitment to your life and to your family to date someone who is a professional sports player, right? Sports player, is that the right term? Okay, let's move on to Michelle and Cam. Michelle is a 34-year-old program manager. She was diagnosed with fibroids at 26 and thought she couldn't have kids, so she's actually frozen her eggs. Her backstory is really interesting because her parents were sort of matched by her grandparents, and they've been together for 30 years. As I mentioned earlier, her dad is camera shy, so he's not coming to the wedding, but he does write her a letter. Cam is 37 years old. He's a basketball coach at a community college, and he's never been in a long-term relationship. Now, so far, I've been telling you guys a little bit about the matchmaking process for these people. I didn't write down any, and I don't know if I missed it. I don't think I missed it. I don't know what they matched these two people based on. I'm not sure at all. Cameron reminds me of someone from a previous season whose name I don't remember, who was also super, super tall. This guy is like, I don't know if he's 6'5" as well, but he's also crazy tall. Michelle is like regular height. So she kind of looks like a little kid next to him, but he's so tall. You kind of can't match it. But there was a guy from a previous season who I feel like was just as tall, also played basketball overseas like this guy did, even though now he's a basketball coach here in a community college. There was another guy who, played basketball overseas, and they matched him with a girl who was super short. She was a twin. She had black hair, and I think he cheated on her during the duration of their short marriage. So he's giving me that guy vibes, even though that's a different guy. I just can't unsee it because they look so much alike. So I'm already like angry at him, worried that he's going to cheat on her. Now, the whole thing about him not being in a long-term relationship, I mean, this is sort of a sore spot for me. I've been in one. It was a long time ago. People look at me weirdly too when I say that I haven't been in one in so long or I've only been in one. And I kind of feel like it's not my fault. So it kind of feels unfair to be judged on it, especially if you want to be in a long-term relationship. That being said, it sort of sounds like from what Cam is telling us that he's the one ending all of these relationships that aren't lasting longer than 6 months. And if that's the case, maybe that's a different story. Like, what is it about all of these people? I mean, he says that he just hasn't found the person who's right for him, or he hasn't found people looking for commitment, which is odd to hear that you can't seem to find a woman looking for commitment. But I guess we'll see. I just sort of hate putting people in a box of like, oh, there's something wrong with you because you've never been in a long-term relationship. But I also see it. I also see how it's a red flag if he's the one ending all those relationships. When it comes to their wedding, Michelle comes down the aisle in a horse-drawn carriage, which I think is a married at sight first. And at the altar, he doesn't even get to see any of that because, like I said, he's turned around. Now, I can't really tell if they're attracted to each other. He says, you're really beautiful. She's like, you're handsome, but I just can't really tell because she's sort of stiff and he doesn't have like a lot of emotion in his face. And we don't get a ton from them. Like, she does sort of mention that she's a little worried about the fact that he hasn't been in a relationship. She's worried that he'll like nitpick, or she's worried that he's going to nitpick like little things about her. But in terms of them lasting, like I really have no idea because like I said, I'm not sure what they were matched based on. And I can't tell if they're attracted to each other. So I guess time will tell. Also, I don't know how many episodes of this there's going to be. I hope a lot. That being said, I mean, I know I said at the beginning, like there's normally like 50 episodes, and then the last season was only 12, and it just wasn't enough. I feel like we need a happy medium of at least 18, 16. I just need to get to know these people better so I can invest. Okay, you guys, two more couples and then we're done. Felipe and Tori. Felipe is 29 and he's a restaurant manager. He says he used to be ugly, but then he went on Accutane and he got tan and he got his teeth whitened, and now he gets hit on all the time. He's originally from Brazil. He's been single for 4 years, and he is like a party guy. Loves going out, loves having fun, but he's happy to put all of that away when he meets his person. Tori is a 32-year-old senior marketing manager. She loves to box and do Pilates and hot yoga. Now, she actually grew up in tough circumstances. She grew up on food stamps and in a trailer park, but she says that it's made her who she is today. But at the same time, she doesn't want to be in that position again. When it comes to the actual matchmaking, they seem like a good fit because Felipe is a party guy. He likes to go out. Tori likes to go out, but also likes to stay home. She likes both. Felipe likes girly girls who wear makeup and do their hair and stuff. And Tori, if you've taken a look at her, you can see that she's one of those people. She kind of gives Kardashian a little bit, but a little bit softer with the features. But I mean, taking a look at her, you can tell, and I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, but like you can tell that she's had a lot of Botox done. You can tell that she's had a nose job. Her hair is always blown out. Her nails are always done. So she's definitely like a person who keeps themselves very upkept. You know what I'm saying? Now, she's looking for a guy with dark features, and Felipe has a black mustache, black hair, tall guy. She wants a traditional man who provides for his family and is family oriented. She wants her own family. Felipe wants his own family. Felipe recognizes his mother is super intense and he needs someone who is going to be really close to his mom. Otherwise, it'll never work out. And I think that that's really insightful that he already knows that from the jump, or he's probably been able to see that in previous relationships in the past. Now, what's funny is we have this scene because you know how I said earlier that the matchmaker, Paul, he sort of goes around to meet with these people in their day to day lives. So he goes to the restaurant to meet up with Felipe, and he's like, Felipe, you're late again. And you've been late another time. And why have you been late both times? And he's like, well, because I was partying the night before. And he's like, all right, do you remember the Zoom that we were supposed to have and we rescheduled it? Why did we have to reschedule it? And Felipe is like, because I was up late partying the night before. So Paul's like, I'm really concerned about your ability to take this seriously because you're partying all the time. You're showing up to things that are late, or you're showing up to things late. And Felipe is like, listen, I take this experience very seriously. I really want this. If my wife is going to be the most important thing. So if this type of lifestyle is going to bother her, I don't do it, right? It'll all stop for her. And Paul says, well, that's all I needed to hear. We found you a match. I'm like, are you kidding me? This man is ridiculous. This man is Kyle Cook to a T. Kyle Cook from Summer House, okay? The guy, I mean, I don't actually know why Kyle has never thought about being a restaurant manager because I think it's like the best of both worlds for him. Getting to, I mean, he's being a DJ now, so he found his best of both worlds in that way. But it kind of would have been great for him to work at a restaurant where he gets to be out late every night and be drinking at the same time. Because what Felipe explains about his life is like, he's already out. He's at the restaurant. He's hanging out with people. But once the restaurant closes, he's already out. So he continues being out. He's hosting late nights and house parties and all these things, right? So, but he says he could put that all away. Now at the wedding, both are instantly attracted to each other. So that's a great start. Felipe's brother gives a speech about how he's the most fun and how he goes to like sweaty parties in Brazil. And then there's basement parties and this and that. Tori doesn't seem put off by like his, you know, chaotic way of life. It seems to be fine. So it seems like she was given enough information about what she's, I guess, because, you know, they did say, like, are you fine with like somebody who's like a party boy? And she said, yeah. So I guess that's sort of the difference between Tori and someone like Amanda Petula, for example, right? His sister calls him a dance machine. Tori's sister Macy calls her best friend and biggest support. So you can tell that these two just have really amazing families that really care about them. big personalities, and it just seems like a really good fit. At night, back in the room, it's clear they're both attracted to each other. They kiss and say goodnight, so I don't think they bang night one, but I don't know. I'm curious about these two. Felipe is very attracted to Tori. Tori is very attracted to Felipe. For some reason, though, I feel like his lifestyle is going to be an issue. It's going to be a problem for him to go from one to the other. And it's not, I'm not even saying that Tori is necessarily going to be the type of person to be like, you have to be home now every night at 10 o'clock. But there's going to be a limit. I mean, even just look at Paul, right? Like he had 3 meetings with Paul that he was late for. People don't like you being late to things. So I feel like him showing up late to things in their marriage, like appointments that they have together or things like that, I think she's going to find that embarrassing, especially if he says, oh, I'm late because I was partying the night before. So that's why it's just sort of giving Kyle Cook-esque to me, because it's like the guy who is just like, no matter how old he gets, no matter what time of night, he is still partying, partying, partying until the sun comes up. Okay, let's move on to our last couple, Mecca and Belle Jolie. Mecca is 28 years old and is a sanitation worker. Okay. Belle Jolie is 28. She's a singer songwriter, but she also has a ton of different jobs. In terms of matchmaking, it's funny because Belle Jolie says that she wants good hygiene, and this guy cleans porta potties, but he looks good. Okay. Like Mecca looks good. So I'm sure that he takes a lot of showers after work, but he's also kind of a hustler because he's a model, he does catering. So the whole porta potty thing is a family business. And I have mad respect for that. Now, his mom left. Um, then he no longer lived with his stepmom and dad either and wasn't living with his siblings. Um, Belle Jolie also doesn't have a relationship with her dad. She apparently met him at 20 and he asked her for a DNA test, which is disgusting. They both want to rewrite history. Mecca describes himself as a lover boy. Belle Jolie describes herself as a lover girl. And I really think it's beautiful when you sort of describe yourselves in the same way. And I think it's going to be so nice when they see these episodes back and just see the way that they've described each other in the exact same way. So, of course, at the wedding, they're both attracted to each other from the jump. The problem is, oh, the problem, Logic. Logic is Mecca's dad, and this man thinks he is the main character here. At the actual wedding, he literally keeps jumping in during the wedding with little quips, like little, like, oh, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Just like, hush, you know what I'm saying? And like, it just feels like this guy wants to be like very involved, but it gets worse. Now, at the altar, Belle Jolie doesn't kiss Mecca, which is something that she had already decided she didn't want to do. And I think that's okay, right? Like Mecca tells the camera that his dad told him that a kiss on the cheek makes you weak, but tongue makes you sprung. What is this, dad? Okay. Like, I don't think we need to be taking any logic from Logic. Okay. I don't think he has any. Now, at the wedding, Logic sits down with Belle Jolie and actually kind of talks to her about her not kissing him. He kind of starts flirting with her. He just gives like a really weird vibe. Then he makes like this larger than life speech, sort of putting Mecca down. And you can tell that there might be like some competition between father and son. Like the speech was about something about how Mecca was so bad at basketball that they put him on like the bench for like the girls team. And then some joke about how even if he joins the WNBA one day, and it's like funny, but you're also putting him down at the same time. Like you're choosing a story that's making him look bad in front of a woman that he's meeting for the first time. That's his wife, right? In a way where you would want to make them look good. I was recently rewatching Vanderpump Rules season 7, and I was watching the scene where everybody is at Kristen's relaunch of her t-shirt line, James May. Bo is there with Stassi, and Stassi's mom, Dana, is there. And Dana is saying things to Bo like, oh, it's not because of her ex-boyfriends that she's so screwed up. She just has a lot of issues. You're up here and she's down here. And you don't want him to see the real you, and just really shitty stuff. And it's like, you're my parent. And of all things, you should be trying to like lift me up to the person around me, you should be saying to that person, you're so lucky to be with her, you know? And that's what Logic should be doing here at this wedding right now. I don't know him. He's obviously like a silly guy and likes to kind of make jokes with his son. But there's also like a time and a place. Maybe this is the time and the place. Like, what do I know? But like, I kind of feel like it would have been nice if, given that Belgerly has no context for Mecca, it would have been nice if Logic had told a story that made Mecca look good. It just would have been. So then Logic goes up to Mecca like after the whole ceremony and stuff, and you can tell he is hammered, slurring his words and everything. And he's like, you guys are going to be clapping cheeks tonight. I just know it. And Mecca's laughing. And then he's like, oh, up at the altar, I know you had an erection. And then he sings that song that's like, there's a little poke coming through on you. What is with this guy? They more seem to have like a bro type of relationship than like a father-son relationship. But also Mecca seems very shocked by the things his father is saying. So I don't know how like baseline this is for Logic, but like I'm a little bit worried that Logic is going to become like the Uncle Vinny of Married at First Sight. Like Uncle Vinny of like, or sorry, not Uncle Vinny. What's the guy's name? Like, no, Vinny from Jersey Shore. What's his uncle's name? The guy who's like always there and he's like really gross and hits on all the girls all the time. You know, his uncle. But it's just kind of ridiculous. And I wonder if they're just going to give him to us in so many episodes just purely for entertainment value, because this guy is absolutely one of the strangest people I've ever seen. Anyways, this is starting to be a really great season of Married at First Sight. Again, not because I believe that these couples are well matched, but purely because they cast the most quirkiest people this season, and I can't wait to see where this dumpster fire goes. So that is the end of the episode today, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. Don't forget to follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads at The Bravo Investigator. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, join the Facebook group, and also don't forget that I have another podcast called All You Need Is You. The episodes air every other Saturday. You can get All You Need Is You wherever you get your podcasts. You can find it in its own podcast feed. You can find it on this podcast feed. You can find it in the description for this episode right there at the bottom. You can click in and follow the show and listen to it there. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode today, and I will see you next week. And I love you, BBs. Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator podcast. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at the Bravo Investigator. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and join the Facebook page. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a 5-star review.